The Chief Medical Officer gives an update on the COVID-19 outbreak at the Geriatric Hospital. Policies geared at promoting healthy food could soon be a reality. Police investigating 3 shootings in the last 24 hours. And Barbados names a squad for the friendly against Honduras.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. The COVID-19 outbreak at the Geriatric Hospital has been brought under control. Confirmation of this from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George. He says more details on the situation will be released shortly, but he assures visitors can return to the facility to check on their loved ones.
The outbreak of geriatric has been closed and the wards will be open. I think if it hasn't gone out yet, an official announcement will be made in the press shortly. But the wards visitors are allowed.
Dr. George spoke exclusively to CBC News on the sidelines of the SIDS Health Conference at the Lord Erskine Sandiford Centre, where the focus is NCDs and mental health. The Chief Medical Officer says he's now looking forward to the outcome document, which charts the way forward for the management of chronic diseases and mental health issues in Barbados and other small island developing states.
So far, so good. We have had a lot of interventions to date, and I think the outcome document is going to be indeed strong and is going to set a roadmap for where countries can try to put their management and leadership on their agenda with respect to NCDs and mental health.
And joining us live now with more on the happenings at today's conference is Wendy Burke. Wendy.
Well, Pearson, one of the major things we're hearing of is that of additional policies geared at promoting healthy foods, and it could become a reality by next year. Health Minister Senator Dr. the Most Honourable Jerome Walcott spoke on the matter this morning.
Governments in SIDS face impossible odds in securing regulatory protections to improve health. This is particularly true in SIDS, where government's resources and budgets may be dwarfed by the size and scale of multinational companies and foreign commercial actors. Indeed, Barbados has identified this challenge and is looking at front-of-package labeling and ensuring that policies to remove industrially produced trans fats from the food supply are in place by December 2024.
The Health Minister reinforced the importance of the conference, noting SIDS could not afford to miss any of their targets to reduce NCDs and mental health in their respective populations. He gave some insight into the prevalence of these conditions.
While life expectancy in SIDS is in line with the global averages, differences between SIDS countries vary by as much as 20 years. Additionally, significant health challenges remain. Over half of all people with NCDs in SIDS dying prematurely, and with risk factors showing that 28% of adults aged 18 years and above do not engage in enough physical activity. 23% smoke tobacco, and 56% are overweight, with half of these being obese. In SIDS, mental health conditions are worrisome, and suicide rates are disproportionately high relative to global averages.
Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. the Most Honourable Tedros Ghebreyesus, who is here for the conference, revealed that NCDs such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes and cancer are responsible for the majority of premature deaths worldwide. He says in small island developing states, they exert an even heavier toll due to various socio-economic factors, fragile health systems and environmental vulnerabilities. Dr. Ghebreyesus says small island states are also seeing a rise in mental health conditions.
We cannot afford to ignore this crisis. It's our moral imperative to act swiftly and decisively and to leave no one behind. Together, we must forge a path that's based on equity, resilience, and sustainability. We must strengthen health systems enhance prevention and early detection measures, and prioritize the integration of NCD and mental health services into primary health care.
And in a few hours, regional heads will sign the 2023 Bridgetown Declaration on NCDs and mental health. Dr. Cabreses hails it as a landmark deal.
This landmark statement will showcase the feasibility of SID-specific actions, evidence-based commitments, and accountability mechanisms to overcome the multifaceted challenges that island nations face. I want to personally recognize the vision and commitment from the two co-chairs of the process, His Excellency Ambassador Matthew Wilson of Barbados and His Excellency Ambassador Luke Dumvalu of Fiji.
And at the opening ceremony last evening, Prime Minister Mia Motley called on Smile Island developing states to collectively push for global food manufacturers to provide front-of-package warning labels so people know exactly what they are consuming. She said while food imports from Barbados and even CARICOM are considered minuscule, the 46 small island states together have the power of voice and advocacy.
And if we act together and we say to the marketplace that we are not simply small countries to receive that which you do not want in your main markets, in other words, dump goods, that we are equally deserving of dignity and respect, and that together we are going to make the clarion call for our circumstances to be noticed. We spend too much money in the diabetes epidemic. We spend too much money fighting cardiovascular problems. We spend too much money having now to move patients to dialysis who have not controlled their diabetes properly.
Prime Minister Motley has, however, acknowledged that the authorities alone cannot bring about change, and citizen partnership and engagement is also key. She reiterated the need for a Caribbean calorie counter for dishes commonly consumed in the region. On the topic of mental health, Ms. Motley says it's not talked about sufficiently, especially in small societies. She said the island will be seeking help from the Pan-American and World Health Organizations to provide a toolkit to help with the lack of capacity in this area.
How does a mother recognize that something untoward is happening? How does a neighbor recognize that something untoward is happening? What are the appropriate interventions? And how do we use this technology for good purposes? Not just to be able to do the other things, regrettably, that lead to nefarious gossip and fake news. How do we use it to provide the public education and the reinforcement that's necessary in order to allow the battle to be fought, not just by doctors, not just by policymakers, but by the entire nation?
Prime Minister Motley also gave an indication that government is now setting up its sights on salt, following the imposition of a tax on sugar-sweetened beverages. While she did not go into details on the possible action government could take, Ms. Motley suggested that Barbadians' eating habits, particularly as it relates to diets of the past, must now be broken.
Our government committed to the removal of trans fats by December 2024 in order to ensure that we can give people a better chance when going into restaurants and fast food places. We increased the tax on sugar when we came in, and all cried and all made noise. We've introduced a schools nutrition policy, which has also led to a national uproar from some quarters. But the reality is that deep down, everybody knows it is the right thing to do for the right reasons. And we await now from the Ministry of Health a report by September, for that lovely but deadly thing called salt.
The conference continues tomorrow. Pearson?
Wendy, thank you so much. In other news now, government has been clearing the air about the $60 fee surrounding the new Trident ID card. In a statement issued this evening, Attorney General Dale Marshall stressed that the money is not for the first issue of the card. He explains it only applies to replacement cards. And as such, Mr. Marshall revealed that 202,140 people already registered have collected their cards for free. The Attorney General says this stance is consistent with the Barbados Identity Management Act, and he explains what the legislation describes as the transitional period.
There's a provision at Section 34(8) of the Barbados Identity Management Act, which provides that a person who applies for an ID card outside of the transitional period shall pay a replacement fee. This has been dealt with quite simply by the government extending the transitional period. The Act came into force on March 3rd, 2021, and so the one-year period expired on the 2nd of March, 2022. We have since then issued several extensions of the transitional period and are about to extend the transitional period yet again. So we are currently 1 year and 3 months past the first anniversary of the commencement of the Act, at which time persons were expecting to be made to pay for ID cards, and not a single person has been charged for an ID card.
We'll take a break here, but coming up, diesel thieves are now targeting farmers. The police are probing 3 shooting incidents in the past 24 hours. According to lawmen, the first report of gunplay occurred in the Chapel Gap, Sports Barbados area, where a 41-year-old man was shot in the stomach by 2 men around 13 minutes after 2 yesterday afternoon. Police say the 2 unidentified men subsequently fled the scene in a car. The injured man was transported to the hospital for treatment. Lawmen say in a separate incident, a man was shot around 1:30 yesterday afternoon after he was approached and robbed of a gold chain by 2 armed masked men at Paradise Village in St. George. He was taken to hospital for treatment. Additionally, the police are reporting that a 42-year-old woman was forced to seek medical attention after she was shot in the foot by 2 armed masked men dressed in black. That incident occurred around 9 minutes after 3 this morning at Whitehall Main Road in St. Michael. Well, the issue of diesel theft is not only hampering hurricane preparedness, but continues to impact farmers. Farmers are reported an increase in incidences these last few months. Michael Powers spoke to Crystal Hoyt.
A Barbadian farmer forced to put anti-stealing and vandalism methods in place due to an increase in diesel theft these last few months. Michael Powers says it's an issue that has been ongoing for years.
As part of our business here, besides farming, we do cultivation for farmers, so we use a lot of diesel, and we have had to put anti-vandalism mechanism on all of our equipment, including our storage facilities for diesel. We have encountered on 1 or 2 occasions where we came and found our tractors completely depleted of diesel. And in one case, I encountered 2 people after the hour 12 or 12:30 in the night running away with cans, and they got away.
He adds not only are cases of diesel theft increasing, but it's being done more efficiently.
What we have seen and noticed that they're coming well prepared and armed, because they're using motorized electronic pumps to siphon the diesel, and it's a faster job, quicker job, and it's silent.
Mr. Powers says it's negatively impacting farmers.
This is really a hard blow for farmers or anybody, because the diesel cost is astronomical now for farmers, and the usage is unavoidable in terms of farmers operating the equipment and so on.
Along with diesel, people are also stealing vehicle batteries. He's urging farmers to be vigilant. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Emergency officials were on the scene of an accident along the Bell section of the ABC highway this evening. The accident involved an SUV and a flatbed truck. Our cameraman, Christopher Wood, was on the scene as paramedics attended to the driver of the SUV and the 2 passengers, both children. 1 girl was attended to outside of the vehicle, while the others were not moved. The injuries did not appear life-threatening at the time. CBC will keep you updated. In other news, this year's Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition will definitely be a stage for inclusion, as for the first time in the competition's history, a visually impaired singer is among the 25 semi-finalists. King Rashad Applewhite, who was accompanied by his mother Rashida, drew number 7 in the Soca category of the competition. The two draws, Calypso and Soca, for the semi-finals were held today at the Scotiabank Junior Monarch Media Launch at the bank's Warrens St. Michael branch. In addressing those in attendance, Chief Cultural Officer at the National Cultural Foundation, Andrea Wells, said the NCF was thrilled to welcome a competitor from the differently abled community.
We must single out 18-year-old Rashad Applewhite, who is the first ever participating student from the Irving Wilson School and the first visually impaired singer in the competition. The NCF has been working closely with the Barbados Council for the Disabled, and we are heartened to facilitate and accommodate Rashad to ensure that he's provided whatever he needs on and off stage in order to compete with his peers.
Well, this year, the NCF will stage 2 Scotiabank Junior Monarch tents, one this Sunday, June the 18th, the next Sunday, the 25th, at the Steel Shed in Queen's Park. The semi-finals will be held on Sunday, July the 2nd at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. The finals will be held on Saturday, July the 15th at the National Botanical Gardens. To the public, you can log on to their social media pages, the NCF Barbados, for information on the Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition and all other crop over activities. Well, it is official. There will be a Soca competition in 2023, and all 3 forms, Sweet, Power and Bashment, will be eligible. Wendy Burt tells us that Ocean Gen Productions Inc. has come together with Bushy Park Barbados and Hot 95.3 to give patrons a Soca Rumble, the first at that arena since 2018.
Get ready to Soca Rumble, not in a ring, but on a stage. Performers of Sweet, Power and Bashment Soca are getting the opportunity to compete in the Hot 95.3 Soca Rumble on July 31st. The registration process opened from today. This show fills the void left by the National Cultural Foundation not having a Soca Monarch show. It will come down to a final 11, according to Adrian Clark, the chief executive producer of the event. He said, knowing how much Bajans love to compete, he had to bring a show for the performers and audience. The public will choose the 12 finalists.
Having less than 3 months to source sponsorship and also to organize this show isn't easy, and you don't want to cut your nose to spoil your features, so you don't want to go and say, well, we get 20 and then you got to have the finances to pay those prizes. The judges will choose 11 of the 12. We're allowing John Public the opportunity to choose that 12th man or woman. And of course, that will be done through one of our networks.
The sponsors saw it as an opportunity not to be missed. Marketing manager at Starcom, Vilmore Johnson, says it's part of their duty to make sure the world knows what's happening musically.
We also have to ensure that once those finalists are chosen, that we continue to promote their music, continue to push them in the limelight, and make sure that we make them almost like the pre-hype for the show.
Bushy Park Operations Manager Kirk Siabra says Adrian Clark was the first person to bring a show to their multi-purpose venue, and it makes sense to have it.
Choosing Bushy Park as his first stop to ask if we would partner it, for us it was a no-brainer. Soca Monarch, Soca Royale at Bushy Park, I don't know how many of you have been here. The place is, Bushy Park comes alive. It's nothing like it. There's no other show that we've put on here, whether motorsport or not, that has that sort of vibe.
And what's at stake in this competition? A car and monetary prizes ranging from $30,000 to $7,000. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
Time for sports, and here's Damien Best. Damien, good evening.
Good evening to you, Pearson. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. We start with some football news. Britons Hill closed the gap on third place Ellerton Football Club to 1 point when the BFA Premier League continued last night at the Wildy Turf. The 3-0 win for Britons Hill over struggling BDF Sports Program moved them to 26 points, and the Sports Program sit on 11 points in 9th position. Meanwhile, in the night's other match, the Silver Sands Football Club remained rooted at the bottom of the table after UWI Blackbirds hammered them 5-1. Blackbirds stay in 7th position, but they now have 18 points, while Silver Sands remain 12th on 6 points. Good night for football at the turf. First of a doubleheader. Britons Hill in red up against BDF Sports Program. Early chance for the Soldiers. Deflection forces a save and the rebound. Well, I bet you he would love to have that one back. Let's go to the 11th minute now. Excellent distribution down the right. Cuts inside. 3 defenders. Was that a shot or a cross? Who knows? But Ray Francis is in the right place at the right time. That's 1-0. The floodgates open afterwards, and BDF were lucky not to concede another goal in the first half. Mediocre defending, and somehow Britons Hill failed to advance their lead in the contest. Second half business, 66th minute. BDF retreating, but cannot stop. Kendolph Lewis with the side-footed finish. 2-0 to Britons Hill. A few minutes later, goal number 3 was offered up on a platter, tripped in the box from a tired-looking challenge. And that, my friends, is a penalty. Corey Hoyt steps up, opts for the right side, but so does the goalkeeper, Terry Smith. Well done. Not to worry, though. The third and final goal was scored in time added on. Mario Cooper sets himself nicely. One of the top goals of the month. 3-0 in favour of Britons Hill. Next up, UWI Blackbirds in yellow versus struggler Silver Sands. 7th minute, shot from distance, saved. The rebound. Oh, heartbreak. UWI lead, 1-0. Jerron Otherson made it 2-0 3 minutes later before Darian Gale Ford reduced the deficit, successfully chipping the goalkeeper here, but injuring himself in the process. UWI started brightly in the second half. Otherson, genius of a cutback and a left boot of devastation. Superb. That's 3-1. 50th minute now. The centre back to blame here. Got his pocket picked by Jaheem Neblet. Ice goal with the finish. Couldn't want it any better. The demolition job was complete in the 76th minute. Another costly mistake. The cavalry arriving. Varavaldo Messiah adding his name to the sheet. 5-1 in the final analysis. Victory to the Blackbirds. Well, in more football news, head coach Orlando Da Costa has named a 23-man squad for an historic FIFA International friendly match against Honduras in New Orleans, United States this Sunday. Barbados will take on CONCACAF giants Honduras, who are ranked number 9 in the federation, at the Olympia Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. There are maiden call-ups for 5 players: midfielder Abdullah Javid, forward Corey Hoyt, goalkeeper Jerome Blackman, and defender Nico Harper. A striker, Kyle Ford Blades, who represented Barbados at the under-20 level, has also received a maiden senior call-up. Now Reed Stevens, Christian Pierce and Ronaldo Trim have been recalled in the squad. The team includes 5 officials and will leave the island tomorrow. Well, the Lodge School proved too much for host Parkinson Memorial in the latest matchup of the Barbados Secondary Schools Under-14 football tournament. Playing at Parkinson Field in the Southern Zone, the Lodge eased to a comfortable 3-1 win. The Lodge School in white and blue up against host Parkinson Memorial. Defensive blunder and the Lodge on the doorstep, but the finishing touches were missing. 26th minute, the Lodge launched their attack once more down the left. Neat footwork, but the goal would be the end result of a poor clearance. Adam King on the volley. 1-0 to the visitors. In the second half we go. Corner kick. Danger lurking in the 6-yard box. Parkinson with numbers trying their utmost to keep it out. Zach King somehow finds the back of the net. 2-0. Parkinson would pull one back via a dead ball scenario. Free kick just outside the 18. The perfect delivery from Jeremiah Brathwaite. Keeper had no chance. Parkinson on the score sheet. It's 2-1. But the celebrations were short-lived as the Lodge School added a third. Johnny Franklin turning this one in, and that's all she wrote. The Lodge School 3, Parkinson Memorial 1.
In business tonight, summer bookings are down, and they are a cause of concern for the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association. Word of this from Renee Coppin as she delivered the chairman's report at the annual general meeting at the Sandals Resort today.
Occupancies from November 2022 to March 23 were even above our 2019 levels. ADR and revenue per available room have also continued to show strong recovery. It was also winter season, which saw more positive cruise numbers. And this was driven by a healthy balance of home porting ships and transit ships, where many home porting ships stayed for 2 days in Barbados. And that home porting business also brought with it 436 wide-bodied flights out of the UK and Europe, which drove increased sales to both the cruise as well as to the hotels.
The BHTA chairman also called on the key decision makers of the industry to pay due attention to the fundamentals of the sector.
Ensuring that we have adequate airlift, building effective marketing programs, ensuring that there's industry input when they're making plans and collaboration, building summer business, addressing environmental issues such as sargassum and rodents, and infrastructural concerns that we all share, especially in relation to our roads and our public facilities.
The local postal service is expanding its services. Acting Postmaster General Joanne Busby says they are introducing a Post Express courier service. The process is still in its developmental stage, but they're open to business.
Basically, we would like to be the central agency for the receipt of all government payments, and that would include things like land taxes, etc. And in terms of deliveries, any entity that wants to engage with us can contact our marketing department, 535-3953, and engage with the marketing officer and the business development team with regard to the process and the agreements and so on that we would have to make in order to facilitate a delivery process.
The initiative has been given the thumbs up from the Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrams. He says the postal service must evolve with the times, and the courier service is a part of a continuous innovation process aimed at providing an additional service to Barbadians and providing options.
This is part and parcel of what the postal service does. This can fit into their existing infrastructure, vehicle complement. Postal Express couriers handles things like this very easily, but obviously it's a business, and if the demand grows to a point where we have to take on additional people and we have to take on get additional vehicles, I'll be the happiest person in the world, because it means it's succeeding beyond our wildest dreams.
And he's back. Damien Best with another look at sports. Damien.
Thanks so much, Pearson. Well, the countdown to the start of the 24th Central American and Caribbean Games has officially started. With just over a week to go, CBC's Amory Burke will follow Team Barbados on their journey to the Games. We start with the person who has the weight of the team on her shoulders, the chef de mission.
Let's take our journey to San Salvador as we feature Team Barbados.
Team Barbados is shaping up pretty well.
Meet Gail Craig Archer, the woman in charge of the entire 181 Barbados delegation who'll be heading off to the upcoming Central America and Caribbean Games. Bestowed the title Chef de Mission. Gail is no stranger to this role, having done the same at a number of other international competitions over the years.
These games have taught me to be very patient, especially dealing with parents. As a parent myself, I can understand you get agitated and you get a little anxious when your little chicken is flying off all by itself and you're not there, but it has taught me a lot of patience.
Just as Gail is getting ready, so too are our athletes. But while they're focused on the physical preparation, they've also been given some social and mental preparation.
We have started about 2 years ago with a mental skills preparation workshop for athletes and officials, where the athletes go into, it's like a gym setting, and they do a lot of team building, because in previous years we've realized that although we say Barbados is small, we would find that athletes would travel and the first time they would have ever seen each other would be either at the airport or when they actually arrive in the village. And with these team building exercises, the group, they really come together and they really support each other. They learn a lot more about each other's sport and what goes into it, which makes then rooming when they get to the village a lot easier, because you're not rooming with somebody you've now seen for the very first time. You've been interacting with this individual over the last 6 weeks, every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So it makes life a lot easier for us as management.
The games are expected to present some challenges for Team Barbados: cultural adaptation, language barrier, variance in food, and the fact that there is much hotter and humid weather in the Central American region. But rest assured, the health and well-being of our athletes are of paramount importance.
Barbados always travels with a medical team. This time is really big. We have 10 medical traveling with us. We've got doctors, we've got nutritionists, we've got physios, we've got massage therapists. Because these games are split over 2 countries, one set is in El Salvador, the other set is in Santo Domingo. So we've got 6 medical with us in El Salvador and 4 in Santo Domingo.
So with 22 sports, 115 athletes, 66 officials, the largest ever delegation from Barbados to CAC Games, what is the focus and strategy?
The team's overall strategy and vision for the Games is, of course, any team traveling anywhere, your focus is on hardware. You want to come home with medals. Apart from that, the overall strategy and focus will be the experience, the athletes doing the best they can and representing Barbados 100%.
That was Gail Craig Archer, the chef de mission of Team Barbados to the CAC Games 2023, set for El Salvador and Santo Domingo from June 23rd.
Well, that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending yours with us. I'm Pearson Boeing for the crew. To all of you, good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for visiting us. Now, if you want to see more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can always go to cbc.bb for the latest news and current affairs.